So welcome to 2-3, and here is our first homework problem. And there's an example there. So we're just writing it in expanded form as fractions. We're trying to get you to see the relationship between a decimal, like 0.6, and the same fraction, which is 6/10. So what is the relationship between decimals and fractions? So I'm going to write this one in expanded form. I got 2, and I put this up here just for reference, right? See that pattern? It should be obvious to you now what this pattern is and what they mean. It's like 10 to the negative 1 is not a negative number. What it is, it means 1 divided by 10. That's the definition, right? 10 to the negative 2 is 1 divided by 10 squared, which is the same as 1 over 100. Okay, so this is 2 tens plus 3 over, and that's in the third place, which would be here, right here, 3 of those. So that would be thousands. Tens, hundreds, thousands. This is 7 times 10 to the third, which means 7 thousandths, plus 5. The second decimal place is hundreds, so that's 5 hundredths. This one we're going the other way, right? We have 4,000, no hundredths, 110, nope, no hundredths, no 4,000s, no hundredths. Well, yeah, 110. So let me redo that. 4, 0, 110, and 0 ones. Then the decimal point, and we have 0, 0, 6, because that's thousands. This one we have 2 ones, which is 10 to the 0. That's the ones place right here. Plus 9 tenths, because the tenths is the first decimal to the right. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of these and write the answers for the other ones. But I'm going to try this one first here. And a really good way of doing these is to understand that 2 and 5 tenths is the same as 2 plus 5 tenths. And to that, you're adding 3 plus 7 tenths. So because addition is commutative, meaning you can add any one any way you want, you don't have to do them in order. I can add 3 and 2 and get 5. And now I'm adding tenths. It's like, again, 5 tenths plus 7 tenths is like $5 plus $7 is $12. Right? Nothing, the units do not add. And again, you can only add units if they're the same, right? So this is 5 tenths. 5 of those and 7 of those is 12 of these. Now this has to be regrouped because this is more than 1. So the way I look at it, it's kind of like this. Take 1 out, and what do I have left? So the answer would be 6 and 2 tenths. And 6 tenths, that's good enough, but it can be reduced to 1/5. So this is 6 and 1/5. Now let me do this one here. So this is actually pretty simple. We're gonna make this into a decimal. I had 2 tenths decimal form. 6.2, because that would be 6 and 2 tenths. So let me do this one here. I have no whole numbers. I have 6 in the tens place, 6 in the hundreds place, and 6 in the thousandths place. So as a decimal, this number is this. This one here, you're going to have to make 7/10. You can't add cats and dogs. You can't add tenths and hundreds. You're going to have to change tenths in the hundreds. It's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, and that would be 10 over 10, 70 over 100. You could do that, but watch this. 6 plus 3 is, or 3 plus 6 is 9. Then I have 7/10 and 7/100. This would be a much easier way of doing it. So I might as well just go through these. I have 6 plus 4 is 10. 3 plus 8 is 11/10, which is 1 and 1/10. So I would have 11 and 1/10. Make sure you can go from here to here. 11 and 1/10 as a decimal is 11.1. This one here, I have 5 plus 4 is 9, because I'm looking at this like 5 plus 4 plus 5/10 plus 3/10. See that? So I have 9 and 8/10. As a decimal, 9.8, because tenths is the first to the right after the decimal. This one here, I want you to think about it, but this is the answer. 6. 60 plus 40 is 100. 3 plus 2 is 5. 60 plus 40 is 100 over 100. 5 plus 1 is 6. Putting our place value system down here to give us some reference. Notice that all decimals have denominators if they're converted into fractions. Any decimal, like 0.4, converted into a fraction is going to have a denominator of some kind of a power of 10. See the powers of 10 here? They're all powers of 10. So that's what we need to get. So like 3/10 is very simple. That's just 0.3. It's 3 in the tenths place, which would be right here, right? 4 over 50 is a little harder to do because you don't have a 50th place. The only thing you have is a tenth and a hundredth place and 1,000, etc. So a really good thing to do is to change this to some kind of a denominator that is a power of 10. And hopefully you see that 100 is the likely candidate. Multiply this by 2. So you have to multiply this by 2. So I get 800. So importantly, these two are equivalent. Writing 800ths as a decimal, none in the tens place, 8 in the hundreds place. 3 over 100, that should be simple, right? None in the tens place, 3 in the hundreds place. 8 over 1,000, decimal, none in the tens place, right? None in the tens place, none in the hundreds place, 8 in the thousands place, just like that, 0.008. 2 out of 25, well, hopefully you can see again that you get to 100. If you get to 100, then you can write it as a decimal. So I'm going to multiply 25 by 4 and 2 by 4. So I get 8 over 100 as a decimal, none in the tens place, 8 in the hundreds place. 2/5, this one I can get to 10, right? I've got to get to 10, 100, or 1,000. So in this case, I multiply the bottom by 2, 5 times 2 is 10, and the top by 2, I get 4/10, which is 0.4 in the tenths place. 1/2, I can get to 10, which is 5/10, because I know what half is, right? Half. Or multiply it by 5/5, which is 1. And any number times 1 is itself. So this would be no ones, decimal 5 in the tenths place. So on this problem, we're going to look at the exponential form and convert it to a fraction form and then convert it to a decimal form. Now recall that 10 to the negative 1, recall anything like 10 to the negative 1 is the same as 1/10. 5 to the negative 1 is the same as 1/5. 8 to the negative 1 is the same as 1/8. So this is 3 of these, which as a fraction is 3/10. And hopefully you know as a decimal, that's none in the ones, the decimal, and 10 to the negative 1 is the first place to the right of the decimal. 11/16, that's going to be 16 to the negative 1 is over 16, right? So that's 11/16. Recall that from here, right? That follows the same pattern. 16 to the negative 1 is 1/16. So you have 11 of those. Now to convert this to a decimal, really the way you're going to do it is put it in your calculator, 11 divided by 16. And if you do that, I know you're not supposed to use calculators, that's fine. I'll go into how this is actually done in more detail at some point. But if you do that, you're going to get 0.6875. So this is not a test question without a calculator, that's for sure. So 10/10, right? 10 to the negative 1 is tenths. How many do you have of those units? 10 of them. So that's just 1. 5 times 10 to the 1/2 is the same thing as 5 divided by 10, which as a fraction is 5 divided by 10, and it's a decimal, it'd be 0.5, 5 in the tenths place. 9, 5 to the negative 2. That's going to be 9 of these. 5 to the negative 2 is 25. And let's just review that negative 2 for a second. Clear this off. It's the same idea, only recall that 10 to the negative 2 is 1 over 10 squared. 10 squared means 10 times 10, so that's 1 over 100. 5 to the negative 2 is 1 over 5 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, so that's 1 over 25. And you have 9 of them. This one we can convert because we can change 9/25 pretty easily into hundreds. Right? You have to recognize that if you want a decimal, it's got to be tenths, hundredths, or something. Multiply by 4/4, I get 36 over 100, and that can be laid out as 3/10 and 6 in the hundredths place. Going from here to here is kind of like there's something you can memorize, or there's ways of doing it. Let me look a little deeper into that. $36 over 100. I'm going to take this and say this is 30 over 100 plus 6 over 100. Breaking it into that and this. 30 over 100 is the same as 3/10. So there's where you get the 3/10. Zeros would cancel, right? Or you can reduce it. That's 3 times 10, that's 10 times 10, the 10s cancel, and it's 3/10, reducing the fraction. So that's one way of looking at it. There's many ways to look at how to go from here to here. And finally, this one, 7 over times 1 over, that's the same as this, right? 7 1,000ths, that's the fraction. And the decimal would be none in the tens, none in the hundreds, 7 in the thousands. Okay, I just want to look at writing a couple of these fractions as decimals using our place value system. This is not in the homework, but it's an important idea. So how do I write this here as a decimal? Well, look, you're looking in the thousands place. Whatever this is, that's where you're going to start from. I'm going to kind of go backwards. So this 2 is in the thousands place. So I'm going to put that there. Then the 4 is 10 times this, well, it's actually 20 times this amount, but it's the next place value over. And then finally the 1. So you'd write this as 0.142. Now let's look at this one. You're starting in the hundreds place. You're starting here. What do you have? You have 8 of those. But you can't just skip this. Now you would have 0 in this place, and now you can put the decimal in. So this as a decimal is 0.08.